Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs?
Yo!
We're back! We're back, baby!
Yes, sir.
I'm going to repeat myself because literally 30 seconds ago, we did the entire intro.
Yep.
And I didn't hit record. That's how long it's been.
Yeah.
So
we're a little rusty.
We're a little bit rusty, but we're back. I was going to say earlier today, I did tweet on the Fantasy Champions page asking if we're coming back because it's been a while. It's been a while. And this was not a part of the plan, by the way. Rick was super busy with school, decided to take a break. That's why you only saw my face for a little while. And then I just missed a couple days, and that was it. So
yeah, and
then Rick moved back, kind of.
And then we just kind of, enjoyed the summer a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. But we're back. And we'll probably when the show goes through the entire season, we actually might take a break. But we're gonna come back before draft season next time.
Yeah.
Hopefully. But anyway, welcome back to the show. Hopefully you have enjoyed your summer so far, and Rick and I have been doing. We were just talking about this in the other intro that we didn't record about our rookie drafts and how that has been going. So we just finished 3 rookie drafts. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was saying that I don't mind having rookie drafts for Dynasty this late, and you kind of made a face. I don't know if you were agreeing or disagreeing.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. All of my Dynasty fantasy leagues are I run them. I'm the commissioner. I don't have a league that I'm not running. So it's kind of a giant pain in the rims for me.
Well, there was one league you weren't running, and then you raged and quit.
I can't believe I rage quit a fantasy league for no reason. There's nothing to rage about. I just rage quit. Sometimes you just need to leave guns ablaze.
Yeah.
But
too many teams.
It is nice when you don't run things.
Yeah.
But you know what? I can't not run things because I want them the way I want them. Or I
right.
go into a league and everyone's like, you just take it over. I'm like, oh, all right.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Whatever.
But anyway,
we are back.
Yes, sir.
And it's nice to be back because there's a lot of changes in the NFL.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to kind of touch on them in the show.
So it should get real interesting. I'm going to remember things as we go through this particular show, and I'm going to be like, what the crap happened in the offseason that I forgot about?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Get off the beach.
I did
get back to football.
Rick was saying before we started recording that I was in NBA mode.
Yeah.
I mean, our team won the NBA Finals.
It's true.
So I'll take that.
Fans.
But anyway, now that we're 10 minutes into the show, my name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. Before we jump into this, be sure to head over to Twitter and follow us on there. Our handle is @TheFFChamps. You can also find us on Instagram, but not super active on that account. Hopefully in the future, TikTok will be more active. But you can find us if you just type in the FF Champs or the Fantasy Champions on any social media platform. If you're listening on any podcasting platform, please stop this podcast right now. Actually, listen for a couple seconds and then stop the podcast. Please leave a review. So stop it, leave the review, come back. So that your friends... let your friends know, but so that you can support the podcast. We don't ask for money, we ask for reviews. And make sure it's a 5-star review, by the way.
Yeah, or leave a 1-star review and say, Morgan, button up your shirt.
Morgan, button up your shirt. And then if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and then comment down below any questions you have for us. For this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast, we are going to talk about the NFC and AFC North teams. So we're going to just freaking straight fire hose your face.
Yeah.
With information. I've never done this with a fantasy football podcast before. But take out your notepad and start just taking notes because you're not going to remember any of this.
Yeah, especially if you're driving right now.
Especially if you're on the road and you're driving. Pull out your phone. Start taking notes. I'm kidding, of course. I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, we're doing this because a lot happened in the off season, so it lets us kind of review and kind of give you guys a preview of each team, what we think of their off season and what we think they're gonna do this upcoming year.
Yeah, we also never really get to talk about everyone, which is difficult. So it's going to be more of like I said, fire hose, but like we're going to try to make it quick. Our analysis on some of these players, but we don't get to talk about every player, every position. Typically, it's usually guys we like, guys we don't like. Our top 12 to 20 rankings, and then that's it. And we're talking about 30 guys, maybe the entire offseason. I would say probably 50, but so we want to touch on guys some names that might come up as the season goes along. Maybe some deeper sleepers like last year coming into the season. Some people were talking about insert Dolphins running back name here.
Devin Achane?
Devin Achane. Some people were talking about him coming into the season, and then, after the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, he became this like boom player. Obviously getting hurt before he could really show his true talent. But, so we'll talk about some of those guys as we go through this entire series. It's going to be for the next 4 weeks. We'll do 2 episodes a week and then jump into, I believe, 3 episodes a week for the month of August, and then the football season's here. Good luck to us.
Yeah.
We're going to be rushing to get these things done.
That's all right. We're starting today.
Welcome back. Let's get into it. You ready, Rick?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to start with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, a team that did a lot this offseason.
They did quite a lot. Just an overview of their offseason additions they made from the previous year. DeAndre Swift, this is through free agency, not the draft. DeAndre Swift, they traded for Keenan Allen. Draft-wise, they were able to add Rome Odunze, one of the top receivers in the NFL draft, as well as get a franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. So the offense that you saw last year that had to start Roshan Johnson a bunch of games at running back and had Tyler Scott as their second receiver is over.
Yeah,
so
big time.
Lots of interesting stuff. I'm actually curious to see Rick's thoughts on the Chicago Bears as we go along. But let's start with the quarterback position and talk about Caleb Williams. He's going to start week 1. That's there's no question there, I don't think. They didn't bring anyone else in, and they got that guy Tyson Bagent that had to start a couple of games last year. So anyway, Caleb Williams drafted first overall. Thoughts on fantasy football for Caleb Williams, Rick?
Yeah, I'll try to be really quick because I think we've talked about Caleb before, although, I mean, it has been a while, and I'm sure we're going to talk about him a lot through the rest of the offseason. So I'll just say, I mean, he's got a lot of high expectations, probably the highest graded prospect for a lot of people since at least Trevor Lawrence, and some people would say since Andrew Luck. And he, say what you want about Caleb, but I think the most important thing is he has a lot of talent around him, more so than arguably any first overall pick in that I can remember, at least probably in my lifetime.
Right.
He's coming into a situation where he has legitimate talent all around the field on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side as well, but especially on the offensive side of the ball. So, I mean, I think on the field, he has special traits and he's going into a really good situation. I do really like Caleb Williams. He's probably going to get overdrafted, though, because he is still a rookie quarterback. And, what are your real expectations? Like, if he's CJ Stroud, if he has a CJ Stroud season, but he's still not what was Stroud, like QB8?
I think so.
So it's like, that's best case scenario.
I was going to ask you, like, off the cuff, right now, give me a rank.
Probably like QB 13.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
12,
Stroud was quarterback 13, but he did miss the last 2 weeks. 15 and 16.
What was his points per game? Like probably like 7 or 8.
18.5, which would put him at 7 or 8.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could see Caleb doing that, but that's one of the better rookie years we've seen in a while.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. I mean,
you have to do that.
there's been some really good rookie seasons for quarterbacks that can run the ball. I don't know how much
Yeah.
Caleb will actually do that. He might. At first, my first initial thought with Caleb Williams, really quickly, is like he looks to me like the biggest tool bag bust I've ever seen in my entire life, and I don't think he's going to be that because I don't like to generalize people into boxes and be like, this guy's going to be a bust, because that's just like, that's not really how it works in the NFL. But so I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I think my feelings of him being a tool bag, like in his mental toughness, I think will cap his ceiling in the NFL a little bit personally, but there's no way for fantasy football purposes that this quarterback, like if he went to a bad team, like say he went to Washington, I still think he could be good, but I don't think he would be, I think it would be like QB 15 to 20 in fantasy, and he'd be a guy that people are drafting that don't get anything out of. Because he's on the Chicago Bears and they have Odunze, they have Keenan Allen, they have freaking DJ Moore. And they have Swift in the back. Like, they have so much going for them on the offensive side of the ball. There's no way that he does it. This is like Justin Herbert, year one. He's walking into a situation where he has a lot of weapons. And if he doesn't have success for fantasy football, I would be shocked. So he's a guy that in later in drafts, if he's making it that far, that I would take. But I have high expectations in fantasy football for him this year. I was actually probably going to be in like the 10 to 12 range. At the quarterback position, but
that's probably. I think I have done like an underdog draft or two just to look.
Yeah,
and I think he was like QB 11 or 12 getting drafted, so kind of makes sense.
All right, quickly moving to the running back position, we have guys that will actually have fantasy output. DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson would be the guys that I anticipate. Travis Homer might get like 4 snaps, 4 touches. I'll give him that, 4 touches on the entire season. But I'm interested to see, because Roschon Johnson was the talk of the town as an all-purpose running back last year, and Herbert was in and out of the lineup getting hurt, and then they felt the need to add DeAndre Swift. So to me, this pushes Herbert and Roschon Johnson down a little bit. In fact, making I would say it makes Roschon Johnson, if they feel a certain type of way about Khalil Herbert still, it makes Roschon Johnson fantasy irrelevant, so you really don't have to worry about him. He might end up being a waiver wire ad midway through the season if Swift ends up working and doing good things. But as far as Khalil Herbert, what do you consider Khalil Herbert? A handcuff to DeAndre Swift, or like what are you doing with him?
Yeah, I think he's pretty much. I don't think he's going to have standalone value unless Swift gets hurt, and I don't even think it's going to be a workhorse. Like, I think they'll use Herbert. They might even use Roschon Johnson. It's just like too inconsistent on their touches to consider any of them really like fantasy relevant on their own, except Swift, of course.
Did they change coaches? I can't remember.
They have Matt Eberflus still, but they did change offensive coordinators.
Okay.
So they brought in Seattle's former OC.
Okay, so this setup makes sense,
I believe. Let me double check. That's just off the top of my head.
Okay, while you're checking that, DeAndre Swift.
They did. They brought in Shane Walden from the.
Okay, so if that looks anything like what Seattle did, this could be positive for Swift. I've never seen a running back. Usually in fantasy football, right? The running back just disappears after they leave their first team.
Yeah.
Swift left the Lions, had some success with the Eagles, left the Eagles. Now he's with the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
And it's like, is this one of those situations where, like Austin Eckler, for example? I believe Austin Eckler, he was already looking like a nobody with the Chicago. We'll get there somewhere in the next 4 weeks, but he was looking like a nobody at the end with the Chargers. Now he goes to the Washington Commanders. People are gonna be like, "Oh, we gotta get Austin Eckler." He's gonna suck. So I don't expect that to happen with Swift because he is young, but he can't take a full work. Like, he can't take 200, 250 carries.
No, and that's not the type of player he is anyway.
No, it's not. But I do think he's fantasy relevant. I think he'll probably end up in the RB2 range, especially if the offense for the Chicago Bears is good.
And I'll say this. So in DeAndre Swift's 4 years in the NFL, He did miss a couple games his first 3 years. Last year, he was actually healthy for most of the season.
Yep.
He only missed one game. So take it for a grain of salt. But he's finished as RB18, RB15, RB21, RB20.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where he is his whole career.
He wasn't injured and he wasn't hurt. So, like, I mean, yes, it's his third different team, but he's in a different scenario than a lot of these running backs that are, you know, on their second contracts and, you know,
right.
old. So
yeah, I think he'll be an RB2. I think that's. He could be a good RB2, but he'll be an RB2.
He could. Any other running back in this group that you're looking at?
No.
Okay. I was gonna say as like a deeper play. Okay. Wide receivers, we do have a lot of interesting guys after their fourth or before their fourth receiver. I would say after Roma Dunze, everyone else is like it could go a litany of different ways with the receivers that they have on the roster. So to me, there's no real value in redraft at least after Roma Dunze. So DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, lots going on here. I think the guy that takes the biggest hit is Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
I think he's probably going to be the guy that has a reduced target share. He's going to be reliable. Like I could see him having a Thielen-like season. But I don't see him as the same type of player where you're going to get wide receiver 1 production out of him. There's too much going on in this receiving room. DJ Moore will be DJ Moore. I'm kind of curious how they're going to utilize DJ Moore and Roma Dunze. Like, do we expect anything out of a Dunze year 1 here?
I think he could surprise some people because a lot of people's expectations are DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, which I think like week 1, first game of the year, we're going to see that. I think as the year goes on, though, we get to week 8, we get to week 9, we get to week 10, we get to like that second half of the season.
Yeah.
I think Odunze will get more and more targets.
Fair enough.
And we've seen that before in the past with a lot of rookie receivers, right? Sometimes it takes like half the year before they start breaking out and then really break out in year 2. I think like Elijah Moore, Brandon Ayuk were some guys that had a good rookie year.
Yeah.
But it started after like week 7 or week 8. So I think I could see that with Odunze. Just standing alone value though, like he shouldn't be drafted too high. I also think Keenan Allen shouldn't be drafted too high. I think he's going to have a good start. He'll be reliable, as you said, but I do think just with the talent of Odunze and the age, which is obviously the biggest factor, we'll see Odunze eventually overtaking Allen in targets. And DJ Moore will be the number 1 guy, though. I think that will. Do
you think Odunze will overtake DJ Moore at any point? Like, is this like a pre-thought? Because they're both X's. Like they have an X at their at their Y.
I don't know. That is a good question. I think they do seem to have chemistry, Caleb and Rome. So we'll see how it goes. But I think for at least now for this year, 2024, it'll be DJ Moore as the number 1 guy.
I will say last year they did run 3 wide receiver sets 70% of the time.
I see that that number
that's last year. That's not based on the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay, it's just based on the Bears.
Let me pull up really quickly before we move on because we do have to do this a little bit faster. But I'm trying to find the Seahawks just so I can see because I would imagine that they're running a very similar style, like a West Coast style scheme. So I want to know, like a lot of times that ends up with 2 wide receivers on the field most of the time. No, it's the same 70%. So you should see Odunze on the field. I would be surprised if he wasn't. Which to me would mean if Odunze is out there and he's as good as we think he is, I think he probably should overtake DJ Moore at some point. But my problem is target share. I just don't like all 3 of these guys ain't getting 120 targets.
Yeah, right. I agree. I mean, I do think they'll throw the ball a decent amount, but yeah, even if they do, all 3 guys aren't getting 120 targets.
Really quickly, where are you going to rank DJ Moore? I just want to get a temperature check on you.
He's probably I'm so raw with some of these guys right now just because we've been away.
Right now,
he finished as wide receiver 6 last year, so I don't know if he's going to be. I'll say like around 10 to 12.
Okay, expert consensus right now has him as wide receiver 17, so you're not too far off.
Oh, wow.
They're a little bit lower probably because they added a lot
I'll
of
take a
guys.
look. Let me see.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like, I mean, I would have him higher than a couple guys that are, well, maybe not too much. Maybe like wide receiver 15.
Okay.
15 or 14, somewhere in that range.
All right, let's move to the tight end position. Now, they have Gerald Everett, who they brought in this offseason, I believe. And then they also brought in Tommy Sweeney from the Bills. Cole Kmet is still there. He was a really good tight end. I think Everett and everyone else in the tight end room, not great at this point for fantasy football.
Everett's a good, well, yeah.
He's behind. He's
a
Cole
good
Kmet.
tight end, too.
He's a good tight end, too, but he's behind Cole Kmet at this point.
Kmet,
I'm kind of he started to come on a little bit with Justin Fields. I'm kind of concerned about him just on the sheer fact that, like, you know, Rick and I talk about usually when we scout the tight end position, where is he on the target tree when a quarterback drops back? You know what I mean? And I would say DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze are ahead of him, which makes him 4. And I think it's a close duke. It's a close duke it out with DeAndre Swift, to be honest with you. So I think he's going to take a big target share hit this year, and it's not going to be beneficial for fantasy football. So I'm not saying not draft him, because any amount of things can happen before the season. Guys can get hurt. Odunze could just not be good. He could be like JSN last year. You know what I mean? So if that happens, then Kmet might just jump up. You know, so I'm not saying outright not draft him, but there are concerns for me there.
Yeah, Fantasy Pros has him as tight end 16. So
yeah, he's down the list.
I mean, I can see it, and that's the biggest thing is he's that fourth guy. But you know, historically, rookie quarterbacks do like tight ends as like a security blanket. So he'll still have his moments. I think he could surprise people, but he's not going to be like, you know, a top 5, top 6 tight end like we might have hoped a year or two ago with him. Okay. He was, I think, tight end 8 last year. So I think we'll probably look at like around tight end 10 to 12 for him by the end of the year. But he might even be lower. Who knows?
Fair enough. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions from the NFC North here.
Okay. Not as much change with them.
Not as much change. They still got Goff, Montgomery, Gibbs, Monroe, St. Brown, Jameson Williams. Not many guys added here.
They did lose Josh Reynolds.
They did lose Josh Reynolds, so that would I would imagine we're not at the wide receiver position, but that would be a swoon for Jameson Williams. You would hope one would a Jameson Williams truther in year 3 would hope. Jared Goff is the quarterback. Last year in fantasy football, Jared Goff put up the quarterback 8 on the season, averaging 17.6 fantasy points per game. 1 year older, same team.
Well, that's okay.
He's probably I would rank him between 13 and 15 just because I don't like pocket passers, but maybe that's being harsh.
Fantasy Pros has him at 14, so that's literally right between 13 and 15.
All right, good. Hey, I'm not even looking at the rankings. Yes. So what are your quick 15-second thoughts on Goff?
I mean, I like for what he is. If he's your QB 14 in a draft, like I would take that.
Okay.
I do think he's still good. I like the Lions' offense is good still, and they didn't really lose anything outside Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
So I actually do like Goff. I mean, he obviously has a ceiling because he doesn't rush, and he just has to be throwing dimes all over the field. So he is what he is, but he's kind of like the new Kirk Cousins for fantasy. Like he's going to be like a top 10, 12 quarterback, I think. Even though he doesn't really do too much with his feet.
He's going to be one of those guys that, like, if you choose not to draft a quarterback in the first 5 to 10 rounds, that you're looking at Jared Goff going,
he's the old school strategy that I used to do.
Yeah.
Where you take the stable old guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Or at least like the guy that is going to put up like 18 points.
You might even take the breakout guy first.
Yeah.
You might take Jaden Daniels first.
True.
Okay. Running back position, they have David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. They still have Craig Reynolds in there. They got an undrafted guy, Sion Vaki, among others. I would say none of these guys will do anything to Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I'm going to say status quo with these two guys. Nothing changed.
Yep.
What they did last year, obviously we don't anticipate the same thing on a year-to-year basis, but I think Monty will probably, just because he's another year older, will take a dive down, and they'll probably give Gibbs, I would hope, a little bit more work, but
I don't know if they do.
yeah,
I mean, maybe like slightly, like very slightly.
that's fair. But I don't see any major change. Well, the things I would keep an eye on for Gibbs and Montgomery: strength of schedule, for postseason and for the season in general, and just check that out. Usually I rank guys or project guys higher or lower based on that. So we'll have to see. But any thoughts on those two?
No, I mean, outside of I don't really see a ton of changes with them. So Fantasy Pros has Gibbs at RB4 right now, which is ahead of Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley. Do you agree with that?
No. Saquon Barkley, he's going to be my top 3.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I have Gibbs at probably like RB6 right.
I don't know if I should have Saquon Barkley in my top 3, but that team is so good.
Yeah. You're not scared of the touchdown merchant, Jalen Hurts, stealing all the touchdowns?
No, because I think all of Saquon Barkley's touchdowns over the last couple of years have been 40
like 50-yard runs.
yeah, they've been breakaway runs.
True.
When did the Giants make it to the red zone? That's the question.
Also true.
I don't think they made it to the red zone his entire career. Okay. Anything else on those boys?
No.
Okay. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams. They do have Khalif Raymond, and I believe they signed in the offseason Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah.
So I don't really like Khalif Raymond or Peoples-Jones. I am concerned that if Jamison Williams can't get his hands figured out, that Donovan Peoples-Jones is he's fast, so he's kind of the same thing.
He will overtake. This is going to be a huge year for him because if, as you said, he can't figure out the hands situation and he keeps dropping balls and he's just not.
Is Donovan Peoples-Jones not just Jamison Williams?
Yeah,
older?
He's like a worse version of it, but yes. Or at least worse athletically.
Why would they bring in the same guy?
He can catch the ball.
That's true.
This is going to be a huge, huge year, though. This is the number one guy, I think, in terms of who to watch for the Lions. Because in early press conferences this summer and like the early parts of training camp, Dan Campbell was like, "Oh, Jameson Williams is going to step up for us this year. We expect him to step up. He's going to play a huge role." And all it was all they were talking about.
Yep.
In June, in those press conferences and OTAs and stuff, was Jameson Williams. So this is it for him. This is his big chance. He's going to be worth a flyer because he's going to have that opportunity.
I mean, I hate to do this, but like there was, I don't know, I can't remember if it was in the same draft, but there was a speedy wide receiver drafted in the second round named Tyquan Thornton to the New England Patriots. Has Jamison Williams done anything that has leapfrogged Tyquan Thornton?
No.
So like, get it together, JMO. I believe in you. I draft him. But if he's not good, I'll cut him week 4.
I would still draft him too, even though he pissed me off watching Lions football last year.
I mean, watching Lions football is all you had to say.
I think he had like 6 drops in like a 2-game span, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
He's just like, I quit football. I quit.
Like he had a pass where like he put his hands out and it went like right between them, like it didn't even touch him. I was like, are you kidding me?
If he is who they say he is,
he can get open.
He can get open. Sure.
He's no problem with getting open.
He kind of gives me he actually kind of gives me a little bit of like the Jerry Jeudy vibes, where it's like Jeudy has struggled with like catching the ball, but he's had this really elite ability to get open, which keeps his value in the league.
Yeah.
So, like
he's a lot like Jerry Jeudy, but the Lions' offense is much, much better than Denver's past couple of years.
But anyway, Amon-Ra will be Amon-Ra, top 5 receiver at this point, just because of PPR. I think the rank for him currently is wide receiver 5. Yeah, so I would say that about the same for me. He's a top 5 to 7 receiver in fantasy football. You should be drafting him. I'm I actually probably will draft him this year. Just out of
For
like
PPR,
I keep
Pros
doing
isn't
it.
as-
I keep doing it where I don't draft him and then I sit there and watch somebody else draft him and have fun.
Yep, I think it's 20 plus a game.
It's like that. What is
Fantasy
that?
Pros has him as wide receiver 3 in PPR
Wow, that's crazy.
in the 104 in drafts.
What is it that meme of SpongeBob with Squidward? He's in his house, staring out the window, watching SpongeBob and Patrick like play.
Yeah.
That's me every year with Amon-Ra.
Yep.
It's like oh,
And
that's
somebody else have fun.
have fun, guys. I'll be here with Jameson Williams.
This is also a good transition because we also have a new consensus number 1 tight end.
Sam
fantasy football.
Laporta?
Yep.
No way.
The number 1 ranked tight end,
Dang.
according to Fantasy Pros.
Oh, whoa! Travis Kelce's doing too much partying with Taylor Swift. So
And he's 50 years old.
he's 50 years old. That's true. Love Laporta. I don't know what his ADP looks like, but if he is within reason for me to draft, not a second round pick, then I will try to take him. Outside of that, I probably won't see a lot.
That'll be
of
the
Sam
highest
Laporta.
tight end you've ever taken. 3rd round Laporta.
Ooh, don't tempt. Don't tempt me. I'll find another guy. I always do. All right. Let's move on to the next team. Which would be the Minnesota. I'll do the Minnesota Vikings because that's who I see first here.
Okay.
Um,
A lot of changes with the Vikings.
yes.
You see that picture of Sam Darnold that
Yeah.
player
Yeah.
profile
It's a Lego Sam Darnold. They do have some changes. Okay, so let's start with any additions they made through free agency, which are Aaron Jones.
Yep.
And I believe that's it. They did sign some free
Brandon
agents.
Powell.
Some Brandon Powell, Trent Sherfield. They added some free agents like lower level wide receivers. Because they lost KJ Osborne in the offseason. He went to the Patriots, so they don't have him anymore. But they do add Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers. This could be Aaron Jones's "I'm dead" contract. So
Yeah, I think it is.
But
But
we'll talk about
he's
that
also-
in a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about him in a minute.
Okay. So they did bring in Sammy Darnold. And I think the projection was that Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy would fight for the job. Right now, last time I heard, J.J. McCarthy was the 3rd quarterback on the roster behind Nick
Yeah.
Mullins.
That is also just like rookie OTA. Like,
Yes, I don't know if that is going to continue. But what for you are the chances that Sam Darnold starts week 1 and holds the job?
holds the job and starts week 1, I think, are totally different
Okay,
odds.
starts week 1. Start with that one.
I would say it's like 60-40 that he starts week 1. I think Sam Darnold's the slight favorite to start right away. McCarthy is going to be the guy, though. It's the same with the Patriots. Like, I don't
Yeah.
like the first what was it, the first week of rookie OTA or just not rookie, just regular OTAs? Like Drake May was the 3rd quarterback. It's the same with McCarthy. Like, I think that's not going to last. And Sam Darnold, I think, will start week 1. Be McCarthy's team sooner rather than later. There is a chance Darnold plays the whole year if he plays well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that's out of the realm of possibility, but I think McCarthy will probably be the starter by like week 10.
As I stare at McCarthy, I just I want to put him in like Zach Wilson in that like app where you can mesh faces together.
He looks like he looks like a happier, richer Zach Wilson.
Yes, yeah, he does. Zach Wilson just got engaged this weekend, I believe. So congratulations, Zach Wilson.
Was it to a mom?
No, it was not. Believe it or not. Anyway, so I would agree with Rick. I think Sam Darnold will start week 1. It's a matter of time before J.J. McCarthy gets in there because if Darnold starts week 1, and Minnesota, who has a good roster, if they're losing football games, their fan base is going to call for the heads of everyone running the team. So McCarthy will be out there sooner rather than later, I believe. Unless Darnold went back to his college days and his light never went up.
Yeah.
But I don't think either one of these guys are fantasy relevant whatsoever at this point. They might be streamable against certain matchups during the regular season, but I'm not drafting either one of them, so I would just stay away in drafts. Running back position, Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, Kene Ngwanyu, and then Miles Gaskin. I don't know if he just signed with the team or if this is like a new thing. But anyway. So Jones signs with the football team. Ty Chandler sucked last year. Alexander Madison was buns. They couldn't run the ball. It was as simple as that. You watched the Minnesota Vikings football game, they couldn't run the ball. So they go out and they add Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones doesn't completely fall apart as an old man, I would love to see him go against, in prime time, I don't know if they have a primetime game against the Packers, but I would love to see him have one of his trademarked 3-4 touchdown games against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Because that would be hilarity, to be honest with you. And he would do that, too. But, yeah, I think if you're being realistic, he's probably in the, rankings-wise, in the RB2 range, if I had to guess. I'm looking right now. He's RB19, so in the expert consensus ranking. So I'd probably have him in that same range, just... Like, I don't know how much upside he really has. He's on that second contract. He is older, but he's the only guy that Minnesota has. They didn't draft the running back. Actually, hold on a second. Let me confirm that. This Dwayne McBride guy's here.
He was drafted last year, I think.
Oh, was he really?
23, I want to say.
So they didn't really add anyone to the running back room besides Jones, and Ty Chandler's not really great. So, who's stopping Aaron Jones from having a ton of work? Even if
it's just himself.
It's just him being old.
Yeah. I want to dislike Aaron Jones, but I mean, you're right. Like, there's literally nobody else in that backfield. So I also don't know. Like, he's always had injuries, even when he was a younger player. So, like, now that he's going to be 30 at the end of the year, he'll be 29 to start the season and 30 by the end of the year.
Yep.
Like, are we confident that he can play more than 13 games?
I don't know. He did it. I mean, did he do it last year?
He played 11 games last year.
Oh, boy. I mean, if he misses 4 games, but he's still putting up 20 points a game, I'll take it.
Yeah. Right. That is fair. I think we could see Aaron Jones have an okay year.
Yeah.
But it'll probably be his last good year in the NFL.
Fair enough. Any other thoughts on the running back?
No.
Okay, wide receivers here for the Minnesota Vikings. There's 2 guys. It's Jordan Addison. It's Justin Jefferson. You might see somebody else pop up on the waiver wire. I don't know anything about Brandon Powell or Trent Sherfield. Looks like they brought in, and then they have Jalen Naylor. So they have 3 slot receivers here that all probably could be interchangeable in that one role.
Yeah.
But it's just for fantasy football. It's Justin Jefferson. It's Jordan Addison. Both were really, really good last year. I would look to me, Justin Jefferson, like Rick was talking about before the show, Justin Jefferson's ADP, he's going off as what, the 4th or 5th?
He's like the wide receiver. He's like the wide receiver 4, I think, right now.
Oh, wide receiver 4 off the board?
Yeah, in the 5th or 6th overall pick.
Wow. So, yeah, you're going to see Justin Jefferson take a hit. And I would imagine that Jordan Addison sees a similar hit, except a little bit later in the draft. Sam Darnold / JJ McCarthy, regardless of who the quarterback is, your assumption would be that Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison aren't the same type of players because they don't have Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So
this is interesting. I mean, how do you think they'll take a hit with Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy, and if so, how big of a hit?
I think Justin Jefferson is a ridiculous talent, but I'm trying to think of a situation where a wide receiver went to a football team that had a young or expiring quarterback.
I mean, off the top of my head, and this isn't a good example because it was his 3rd year in the league and he was about to take off. But Diggs going to Buffalo, everybody thought was a bad situation, and then Josh Allen exploded. But
yeah, that's fair.
I mean, in more recent examples,
because he was good, they added the quarterback after him. It's just backwards. Usually it's the other way around. Usually it's you get the quarterback, you figure that out, and then you get the receiver.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of a scenario where that happens, good or bad. But I would say efficiency-wise, Kirk Cousins obviously better than rookie J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy could end up better than Kirk Cousins at some point. That I'm not predicting that. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that could happen.
Maybe.
Sam Darnold is terrible, so I don't. But efficiency-wise, both of them are not going to be as good as Kirk Cousins was last year and years prior. But
yeah,
Justin Jefferson did play a bunch of freaking football games without Kirk Cousins last year. So, I mean, if you want to take a look at that and see where he was averaging out over that time.
Wasn't he I mean, he wasn't like
he was
insane, but he was still pretty good, I think,
so,
without.
I think at the end of the day, like top 5 to 7 at the wide receiver position is what's anticipated. I think the talent will win out for Justin Jefferson, but I think what is going to cap him is how much, like if the offense isn't moving the ball because the quarterback is not as good, then there's not going to be as many scoring opportunities for a guy like Justin Jefferson. So that's obviously going to cap his ceiling a little bit. But if he's getting 10 targets a game, catching 8 balls, and getting 80, 90 yards a game, he's still going to have really good fantasy weeks in fantasy football. It's just going to be kind of tampered down a little bit from what he's typically done. So I kind of anticipate that. I actually think the bigger hit might be Jordan Addison because he doesn't have that, because for him, he's going to have less targets because you have Justin Jefferson on the team. So in that mindset, like he has to be efficient with his targets, which means he has to catch touchdowns or he has to gain a lot of yards or he has to do something else outside of just catching the ball to be a great fantasy asset. So I would say Jordan Addison is probably somewhere in the range for me between 18 and 24 in fantasy football, but yeah.
He is currently ranked as wide receiver 40.
Wow.
So the fantasy community agrees with you in the sense that he's going to take the bigger hit, but they think he's like going to be irrelevant.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which I think could be a good value.
Yeah, I said that might be a good value.
Wide receiver 40, Jordan Addison, I'll take that.
But anyway, overarching thought is that the wide receiver room will take a hit.
It will. And just looking at last year, I mean, obviously they didn't have McCarthy or Darnold. I think it was Nick Mullins and who else was there? I don't even remember Vikings quarterbacks last year.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Addison, when Kirk Cousins went down, it was not good. He was putting up like close to 20 points a game.
He's ranked so low.
He was putting up like 10 to 20 a game in the first 8 weeks of the season. Even a couple 30s in there.
Or Jefferson?
Week 9 and beyond, 10, 10, 7, 9, 4, 29, 1, 5, 15.
Is this Addison or Justin Jefferson?
Addison.
Okay.
Jefferson was injured for most of last season, but in the 5 games he played without Kirk Cousins, he had 4, but he only had an 18% snap percentage, so you don't really count that one. So outside of those, the 4 games, 15, 26, 10, 36. And he still was getting double-digit targets. So I think I like Jefferson and I like Addison for their spots. I mean, will they take a hit from, what we expected them to do if they had Kirk Cousins? Yeah. But I think people right now, as of today, are overreacting a little bit. And you can maybe take... Because at wide receiver 40, like I feel like Jordan Addison's guaranteed to outperform that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're probably right. Okay. Tight ends really quickly. Hawk, I would love to say Hawk will be fine. Usually rookie quarterbacks and young quarterbacks or quarterbacks that don't know what they're doing, Sam Darnold, will throw it to the middle of the field a lot. And so it might mean that he's throwing it to the tight end position. It usually ends up being a safety blanket. So that could be good for TJ Hawkinson. But TJ Hawkinson was just a friggin' target hoard. So if he continues to hoard targets, I really don't think it matters at the tight end position. If a guy's catching 5 passes a game, you already got better than 50% of the league. So I'm fine with TJ Hawkinson, even if it's slightly worse. N'Keal Harry also is on the football team as a tight end.
Yeah, they switched his position.
They have a lot of tight ends on this roster. I'm interested to see who makes it.
They got Tanyan.
They got Bob.
Real quick on Hawkinson, there's a chance he's going to miss the first few weeks of the season.
N'Keal Harry, saddle up!
I did see one report that said there's or a sleeper here says from 1 month ago, but TJ Hawkinson without a timetable, and it is unclear when he will return this season.
Oh, that hurts a little.
So I think he tore his ACL in like week 18. So like
oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay, yeah. So if he misses time, I mean, hey, value.
Yeah, there's your guy because he's tight end 13 right now.
Don't let me draft. Don't let me stream tight ends early in the season and draft TJ Hawkinson.
Put him on IR.
I'm not gonna lie. That goes against my entire strategy of not drafting hurt guys. Okay. This whole thing of doing 8 teams, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pull this off.
Yeah, because we're about an hour in right now.
I tried. Okay, let's move to the Green Bay Packers. They did. Let's see. They added Josh Jacobs. Okay.
Yeah, that was a weird one, wasn't it?
Yes, very, very strange. They got rid of Aaron Jones and they added Josh Jacobs.
And they drafted Marshawn Lloyd in like the 3rd round.
Oh, that's right.
Or the 4th round, maybe.
The running back room is going to be an interesting conversation. And then at the receiving room, they didn't really add anyone, just some low-level guys. And yeah, it's about the same everywhere besides the running back room. So Jordan Love last year, man, he was baking a cake. He ended up being QB5 on the season. And right now, I'm kind of curious. Fantasy pros, what do you got? Jordan Love, QB10. QB10. So yeah, I mean, I don't, because the roster didn't really change. I don't really anticipate much difference. I don't think that Jordan Love can get any higher than QB5. So I think
that was partly because of injuries too. I mean, a lot of quarterback injuries last year.
I think between QB7 and 10 is probably a safer bet for Jordan Love for fantasy football. Because if Anthony Richardson, Joe Burrow, and a lot of other guys end up being healthy, it's going to push him way down. He's not going to be in that.
Kyler Murray.
He kind of he's similar to, for fantasy football, like I would say a slightly more athletic Kirk Cousins. So
yeah, I mean I think he's in that Goff tier. I mean, you'd probably take him over Goff.
Yeah, for sure.
He's a little bit more athletic and.
Do you think he's going to get overdrafted?
He could
because
be.
He had the QB5 season.
I mean, I like Jordan Love. I used to be so down on him because every report, like his rookie year, was like, this guy sucks. Mm-hmm. And he sat behind Rodgers for 3 years. And all of a sudden, he looked like a new guy last year. And he made like every game I watched the Packers, he would make like 4 or 5 throws a game that were just like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes-esque. And I was like, what the hell? What the hell happened?
Whoa.
So I'm definitely into Jordan Love, but I do think he might get overdrafted.
Packers love doing this. They love drafting guys, letting them sit for 3 years, and then pulling them out of the closet and being like, "Oh yeah, we had that. We got the guy." By the way,
yeah, that's what Felga wants to do for Drake May.
Oh yeah,
sit for 3 years.
Yeah, for real.
No, but I do like Love. I think what did you say? QB7 to 10. Yeah. There's just too many. There's so many good quarterbacks. Like if the league is healthy, at least last year the league was not healthy. If the league is healthy, there's a lot of good quarterbacks. He's probably QB like 9 to 10 for me.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. At the running back position, where we'll probably spend a bulk of our time, Josh Jacobs, AJ Dillon, Marshawn Lloyd, who was drafted. You said a 3rd round pick, correct? Yeah, 325. Interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. 220, like the build. Where'd he go to school?
I don't know.
Bro, where did you go to school?
Yeah, the Packers have 3 running backs.
USC.
His player comp is DeAndre Swift, which is interesting.
He doesn't. His picture kind of looks like Marshawn Lynch.
Is this because his name is Marshawn?
No. Well, you know what? That might be it. But I'm just looking into his eyes, and like if Marshawn Lynch shaved his like dreadlocks, that's what he would look like.
Yeah, I could see that.
Anyway, just ignoring the name Marshawn, I didn't even notice that there was a connection there. But yeah, I don't know. Dylan sucks to me. AJ Dillon's terrible. So
I do agree. Unfortunately.
I think there are people out there still going, AJ
I was
Dillon,
rooting
yeah,
for
let's
him.
do it, AJ Dillon. No. He has great quads. Probably could do a solid squat.
He
can't.
you give it to him at the 1 yard line, maybe he'll score, but he averages like 3 yards a carry.
So I would say he's out. I would take a splash pick on Marshawn Lloyd late, as my between rounds
I don't hate that.
12 and 15, just in case, because Jacobs comes in and I think he's gonna be the guy. Like he's gonna play. Yeah. We know what that role looks like. AJ Dillon has played that role. So AJ Dillon. Aaron Jones has played that role. So we know what the fantasy output could look like for Josh Jacobs. And he's also been really, really good with the Las Vegas Raiders. So, I don't think he's going to be a top 5 running back this year. I don't like running backs on their second contracts, but there's a lot of weird movement at the running back position this offseason. So something's going to break.
Isn't he kind of your traditional, like, oldish running back who you've taken, like,
this is his second contract
in the 3rd round, and you're kind of like, oh, this is gross, and you take him, and you kind of regret it, and kind of don't.
But I like Josh Jacobs, so like especially with the way they use the running back position, like he fits perfectly. Like he's
definitely in a better offense too.
He's in a much better offense, and he already had really great success.
Are there too many mouths to feed though?
I don't think so. I think AJ Dillon sucks, and I think they drafted a young guy in the 3rd round to just see.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, like I would draft Marshawn Lloyd as because Josh Jacobs has struggled.
So then, do you think Josh Jacobs is a low end RB1, or is he more of a RB2?
I would say he's a low end RB1 in my mind. I don't know where he ranks.
I mean, FacePros has him as RB13, so that's pretty much a low end RB1.
Ooh, am I looking at the wrong? Why do they?
I'm looking at PPR, so you might be looking at
standard formats. You bunch of boneheads. Yes, Josh Jacobs, RB12. Oh yeah, RB1. That's low end. I would take him. Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs?
Yeah, I would take Jacobs.
Oh boy. All right. So does that do it for the running back room, or do you have any thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I'm the only one that talked on that, but yeah. Anyway.
No, not really.
I
got a couple words in there.
Okay, good. All right. As long as we're good there. Since we're here, I'll let you run the show on these wide receivers. We have Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. What are we doing with
who's that white guy?
You want Alex McGow? I don't even know how to say your name, boss. McGough? No. Is that
and Dante Wicks, or Dontavion Wicks, I should say.
Yeah, he was drafted, right?
A lot of Packers fans, Packers beat writers, because I follow one of them, they think he's like the wide receiver, like 2 or 3 in this offense.
Why?
They think he's better than.
Did you say beat writers or fans?
Both.
What? That's wild.
Yeah.
Over who?
Dontavion Wicks. Well, so here's the thing with the Packers wide receiver group. I feel like every year there's either a running back room or receiver room that we're just like, dude, what do we do with this? To me, that's the Packers. I have no idea what to tell you. I like Jaden Reed, who was a rookie last year and kind of established himself with Jordan Love. Christian Watson has talent, but the dude can't stay on the field. And then when he came back last year, he was getting like 2 targets a game. Like he kind of they threw him to the side. I don't know if they don't trust him or what. I personally am out on Christian Watson. I'm completely out on him. I think he has some natural ability, but I don't think they like him. I think Romeo Doubs is good for what he is, but fantasy-wise, like, you don't love him. He's a wide receiver 3. He's a really good wide receiver 3, but that's kind of what he is. And then all this talk about Dontavion Wicks has me just my head spinning. I think Green Bay is going to throw to all 4 of these guys, which is not going to be good for fantasy. Obviously, if you got to take one, though, I would take Jaden Reed.
Yeah, I would agree. Jaden Reed's probably that guy.
He had a really good rookie year, I think.
I'm not willing to...
double check.
I'm not willing to dump Christian Watson yet. He was wide receiver.
Jaden Reed really took off, especially at the end of last year. See, I'm telling you, these rookie wide receivers, after their bye week, from week 7 on,
man.
He was averaging 15 to 16 points per game.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. I like you, Jaden Reed. As long as Jordan Love doesn't decide to revert. I'm not willing to give up on Christian Watson because I do think he has like that freak athletic ability that maybe some of these other guys don't have.
Yeah.
But he's just very inconsistent. I don't think he's a great route runner either. So,
He's also just like he played 14 games as a rookie, which isn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Then last year he played 9 games. So very injury prone his first 2 years in the league, which does not help.
No. So I mean, like, because Dobbs, I think is he kind of reminds me a little bit of because Patriots fan Kendrick Bourne, like he's gonna play that.
I was gonna say that's not a bad comp.
Like fourth, the third, fourth, maybe.
He's a good he's good for what he is.
So they're thinking that Wicks is gonna play the other split end if Christian Watson sucks.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that.
Interesting. Well, we'll see if it happens. I'm not like maybe he can keep
because that's what they did last year when Watson got injured, and they had a lot of success.
Interesting. Yeah, I would keep
but
a
it's
side
Christian
eye
Watson,
on it. Like if Watson looks like trash early in the season, maybe keep an eye on it. But
yeah.
Anyway. All right. Any other thoughts on these receivers?
I think that's it.
All right, tight ends. Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, 2 guys that they drafted in the 2023 NFL draft. Coming in this year. That you know what? I don't like. Listen, there's nobody on this team to me holds like a massive target share. I'm not gonna lie, like Jaden.
It's
Reed,
very, very spread out.
Jaden Reed is gonna be the guy. I would imagine that he's likely to be the guy that has the highest target share on the team. After that, it really could be anyone, and there's a real shot that like Musgrave could do that. But my problem is which freaking guy is it going to be? Is it going to be Tucker Kraft? Or is it going to be Luke Musgrave? Because
I think it's Musgrave, but it's
Tucker
close
Kraft
enough.
Was tight end 28 last year, and Musgrave was tight end 30. So like,
Musgrave got hurt though, didn't he?
Did he really?
I think he got hurt in the end of the year. I mean, I Musgrave I think is the guy that they want. Yeah, he only played 11 games.
Okay.
But Tucker Kraft came in when Musgrave got hurt. Tucker Kraft came in and was getting like 5 catches a game and playing pretty well.
Okay.
So, Fantasy Pros kind of agrees with us. They have Musgrave as tight end 17 and then Tucker Kraft at tight end 23. If they just had one guy instead of 2, that one guy like Kraft or Musgrave would probably be startable and draftable. Ooh. But because they have 2 tight ends that they I think are going to use both guys. Plus with the 3 or 4 receivers they got, it's really hard to say that, you can really definitively like either of these guys, but Musgrave, I think, is the receiving option if you're going to take one.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Here's what we're going to do. Because, we were going to talk about the AFC and the NFC North. AFC North over there with the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Brownies. Who's the 4th team? I always forget.
Pittsburgh Steelers. I
always forget about the Steelers because we just destroyed them in every playoff game. Yeah, so here's what we'll do. We'll break that into its own show. Should be interesting.
Okay.
So that is the NFC North breakdown. If you have any questions for us, please leave them in the comments. Who's winning this division, by the way? Make a pick right now.
Oh, Lions. I don't like that, though.
I'm going to say the Detroit Lions as well.
I'm going to say the Bears.
Oh, okay. All right. Have a good one, guys. See you later.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.